Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Trump and his administration are making shocking moves to hunt down the funders of radical liberal extremism, hunting down those who have been funding radical extremist liberal ideology, the one that brainwashes the next generation of our future leaders who think if they disagree with you, that means they need to murder you. Kind of like what happened to Charlie Kirk. Everyone from people in the House Republicans, people even General Flynn today is calling for the arrest of George Soros. Trump's administration just announced that they are launching a full RICO investigation into George Soros. We're going to cover that. But first, I'm going to play you an extremely sad clip. So author Frank Turek, he was the guy in the white hat standing right next to Charlie Kirk. They've been friends for over a decade. And he was the one who carried Charlie Kirk's body to the car and then drove him to the hospital. He just posted a couple-minute video sharing with us what happened in the car. It's sad, but it gives us closure, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a huge favor. Smash that thumbs up. Subscribe. Also, drop an American flag for Charlie. This is for him. We're still talking about him. We're still devastated. And as of right now, I am 95% certain that Erica Kirk is pregnant with Charlie Kirk's third child. This is what radical left funding has done. It is disgusting. It is heartbreaking. I mean, yeah, you got. Let's move on. You don't make me cry on stream. So, Christian author Frank Turek, who was with Charlie Kirk when he was assassinated, says Charlie was with Jesus the moment he was hit. Now, here's quote. Now, here's what Erica wants me to relate.
Now, here's what Erica wants me to relate on Sunday. This is going to be the hard part, but maybe also the comforting part. Charlie Kirk was literally like a son to me. I have 3 sons. He was like my 4th son. My 3 sons are a little bit older than Charlie. He was like my 4th son. So when he was hit, if your son got hit, what would you do? What would you do? I got in the car because if there was any way I could save him.
By the way, this is the guy that there are a lot of conspiracies going on. Oh, he told the shooter, go ahead. That's why I said, just stop. I listened to the guy's sermons. I've read a couple of his books. He's a great man of God who instructed Charlie in scripture.
I had to do something. I couldn't just, okay, just take him. You guys got it. So they got him into the side of the car. It was an SUV. It was the SUV we took over. And I'm on one side, and there's actually some video of this. Somebody's taking video of this. I'm on one side of the car, the right side, and they're getting Charlie in. So I run over to the other side, but the guy was dragging him in. They're now blocking that entrance. So at that point, I run around to the back. I pop the back gate open, and I jump in the back. The car lurches forward. Apparently somebody jumped in the car. So the car lurches forward. So I almost fall out of the car, the SUV. Then I grab the thing and close it. And there's 5 of us in the car now. Justin's driving. Dan is up front with the GPS. Rick has got him. Rick's on my left. And Brian is there. And I'm coming over the back seat. And Charlie's laid out in front, just right in front of me. And Charlie's so tall, we can't close the door. We drove 4 miles, I don't know, it's 4 something miles, all the way to the hospital with the door open. To this day, I don't know how Brian stayed in the car, because we're just go. We're trying to stop the bleeding. You saw it. And I'm yelling, come on, Charlie, come on. Meanwhile, my phone is still on. My son and daughter-in-law are hearing this whole thing. and his security team, again, Justin, Dan, Brian, and Rick, they loved Charlie. But they were much cooler than I mean, they're just carrying out, they're calmly, but they're swiftly doing exactly what they were trained to do. Rick starts praying out loud. I'm praying out loud. We're yelling, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. My son's hearing all this. And we're doing the best we can to navigate traffic. This is not a highway. We're on surface streets. And suddenly there's an ambulance coming toward us. And there was conversation in the car. Should we stop? We're like, no, just keep going. Just keep going. The doctor later said that was the right thing to do. Ambulance goes by us. We're still heading to the hospital, trying to get there. At one point, somebody says, let's get there in one piece because we're cutting through intersections. You know, we're just beeping the horn. This is not a emergency vehicle. There's no lights. There's none of this. And I go, we got to start CPR. So I try and start that. Now, Charlie wasn't there. His eyes were fixed. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me right into eternity. He was with Jesus already. He was killed instantly and felt absolutely no pain. That's what I was told later. But of course, we had to try. And by the way, there was just nothing any of us could do about it. We were giving him CPR, but nothing was happening. It wasn't like if we had better first aid or we had better medical facilities or we were faster to the hospital, we could have saved him. We couldn't. So if that's any comfort at all, Charlie didn't suffer. He was gone. He was with Jesus, absent from the body, present with the Lord. That's where he was. Now, it is true, when we got to the hospital and they started working on him right away, they did get a pulse back. And so Rick and I were just, everyone's praying. We're just praying for a miracle. We had a small sliver of hope. And the doctor later said that we got a pulse because Charlie was a very healthy man, but the shot was catastrophic. So 20 or 30 minutes later, the surgeon came out and said he was dead.
Now, before I show you this quick art about what's happening to George Soros, General Flynn calls for indictment on transnational criminal George Soros. Quote, the majority of Americans want action. Arrest the psychopath. I'm going to share with you what's happening. But first, I want to read something to you. Do you know what time Charlie Kirk died? He got shot at 12:23. Here's my Bible. I want to read something to you guys. John 12:23 reads like this. And Jesus answered them, saying, the hour has come that the Son of Man should be glorified. This is John 12:23. Charlie Kirk was shot at 12:23. But Jesus answered them, saying, the hour has come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Most assuredly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much fruit, much grain. He who loves his life will lose it. And he who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. If anyone serves me, let him follow me. And where I am, there my servant will be also. If anyone serves me, him my Father will honor. Here it talks about dying to yourself. Jesus is talking about his death that is about to happen just in the very next day. And he's saying, if I stay alive, yes, I produce little grain. But if I go into the ground and die, I will produce a lot of fruit. So with your life, if you love your life, you will lose it. But if you keep your life, but if you love your life, but if you hate your life, meaning you deny things of the flesh, of the sin, of this culture, of this world, and follow him, then you will gain eternal life. I believe Charlie Kirk is a prophetic symbol. I know people who barely listen to Charlie Kirk, who barely went to church, are weeping over him. And what's interesting, yes, I see the Gordon Trainer. There is a lot of 1223s, but there's only one that talks about dying to produce much fruit. Charlie Kirk's death is producing a lot of fruit. Look, this is the smoking gun Trump can use to go after George Soros' network on RICO charges. Ryan Morrow tells, quote, we traced over $80 million going from Open Society foundations to at least 54 groups engaged in crime and domestic terrorism on United States soil.
Own files from, according to George Soros's own files from his Open Society foundations. So myself, my colleagues at Capital Research Center basically went through as many grants of his, as many funding streams as we could find. And here's the smoking guns that we believe that President Trump, if he's informed of it, can use to go after Soros's network of hate in various ways. We traced over $80 million going from the Open Society foundations to at least 54 groups engaged in crime and domestic terrorism on U.S. soil, or that are pro-terrorism, endorsing things like the October 7th attacks, or are associated with foreign terrorist organizations or explicitly pro-terror groups. And this is according to his own file, so it's rock solid. And over all of that amount, over 23 million went to at least 7 groups that are doing things that meet the FBI's definition of domestic terrorism. Can you rioting and things like that?
Can you be specific, more specific than this?
Absolutely. I'm happy to. So the Center for Third World Organizing, for example, is an organization that has a hub that fused together several really extreme organizations. We found $400,000 going to them, and they openly boast of the fact that they threw down during the uprisings in Minnesota, obviously referring to the rioting, and boasting of how many thousands of people they helped train. A lot of these groups have created what they'll call like a protest guide or an activism toolkit, and it sounds innocuous. Then you open it up and you'll see support for Hamas in it, but then they'll sometimes slyly say, for more information, go to these hyperlinks. And you go to the hyperlinks, and there'll be guides recommending things like property destruction, violence, false IDs, how to obstruct justice, all of these things. And they know darn well what they're doing. They don't put that there by accident. Some of the more careful ones will just direct their readership to anarchist websites with all that material, knowing that they'll see it when it's there. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really stunning. And some of these groups are coalitions. So when I say 54 groups, just one of those might have 300 entities in that one. So it's actually, the real number is actually much higher.
So you see, they have these websites, but then they take you to other websites where they teach you how to break the law, how to obstruct the law, how to riot, how to protest. Now, one last thing I want to play. Josh Hawley posted this. He says, George Soros invented and perfected the left's dark money playbook. All of the anti-ICE riots we've seen across the country were not organic. They were carefully planned and backed by dark money. Time to prosecute. Okay, let's prosecute. The American people are waiting.
Yeah, so like you see LA riots, and then all of a sudden some guy comes by in a vehicle delivering a whole box of commercial grade gas masks. I mean, how does someone get that into the hands of
I am not a Q guy. I am the farthest thing from a Q guy.
rioters that fast? And does that come from Soros? I mean, tell us where it comes from.
Well, that's what we need to find out. I'm willing to bet a lot of it does come from Soros, because Soros in particular has perfected the dark money charade, the dark money shell game, where they move it around through different entities you can't trace. But Jesse, you just think about these riots that began in LA, that they tried to then spread to other cities that Trump is now shutting down. All of them were planned. None of these were organic. And we know because they all followed the same playbook. Same thing on campuses the last 2 years. All these campus so-called demonstrations, it's all astroturf. It's all fake because the Democrat Party today is a theater troupe funded by George Soros. The problem is they're also violent. And that's what we've seen in the last week.
So that's what we've seen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you something before I wrap up. History. Political history is something that's very important. We are in a time and place where unless you understand how dictatorships took over countries before, we're going to allow them to do it. Here's why I don't believe the QAnon conspiracy, because in the early 1900s, when the Bolsheviks wanted to take down the Russian Empire, one of the most Christian empires ever, they knew that the people would rise up and not allow them. So what they did was this. They would send in their KGB officers dressed in plain clothes to churches, to bars, to social clubs, and they would come in all across the Russian Empire like they're one of their own. That they'd spread rumors like, hey, did you hear? The generals and the king have everything in control. Trust the plan. Sit home. Do nothing. Enjoy the show. So 100 years ago, and it was literally called Operation Trust. Google search, the Bolshevik Operation Trust. The Russian Empire, the only reason it collapsed was because the people did not rise up. They believed the plan. They believed that the king is going to do everything, and the white hats are in control. But now they don't need to use bars and social clubs and churches to spread their rumors. They use the internet and algorithms. And the enemy wants us to sit at home and do nothing. And when it comes to George Soros, he and his establishment are the terrorists. We need to make an example out of them. Do you remember when they installed Joe Biden after they stole the election? What did they do? They tried to make an example out of Trump supporters than out of Trump. Steve Bannon went to prison. Many others went to prison. Trump almost went to prison. The January 6ers were tormented and tortured. Why? Because they wanted to send a signal to you. They wanted to make an example out of them to scare you from supporting Trump. The lawfare failed. The lawfare against President Trump and Trump supporters and the Trump team failed. You know what their next and final step is? Assassinations, killing us, murdering us, and they've already begun. When they realized they can't win the 2024 election, they tried to assassinate President Trump. Now they just assassinated Charlie Kirk, the most vocal and influential voice in the MAGA movement. They lost at everything they've done. Everything they tried, they failed. Now they got to their final point. And if you know political history, this is the breaking point. We are at the last step of either we take our country back or they take over the country. When they go to assassinations of political leaders and political voices, you know they ran out of options. They have no more books. They have no more plays in their book, and they're going all out. They're violent. Charlie Kirk used to say this all the time. At the core of a liberal is violence. At the core of a far left extremist is violence, and they will use it. So they failed at rigging another election. They failed at using Trump administration officials and the January 6ers as, to make an example out of them, to get us to fear them and back down. They failed at trying to rig 2024 by, installing Kamala to run against Trump. They failed at World War III with Russia. Everything has failed. They're out of place. Their book is done. They have no more races. So now they are to their last brink. And that is collapse the financial system, collapse the dollar, and start assassinating us. And here is my argument, and this is, I pray to God, some politician will hear this. This is where George Soros and his organizations need to be made an example out of. They tried to make an example out of us. Now we make an example out of them. You shut down Act Blue. You shut down Open Society. You shut down the Clinton Foundation that traffics children and sex traffics women across the world. Get in. This is why Pam Bondi needs to be fired yesterday. She has been the Attorney General for what? Almost 9 months now, 8 months now? No arrests, no indictments. And this guy, if it wasn't for the father of Charlie Kirk's assassin, we would not even know who assassinated him. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, because I love you, I'll tell you 100%. I think this guy is the fall guy. I think the guy sitting in jail for Charlie Kirk's assassination was they either used LARP mind control, or he's the fall guy. This doesn't make sense. And what do I mean it doesn't make sense? Well, check this out. This is, whoever watched me yesterday, this is the letter that the FBI released yesterday that apparently he was texting his trans boyfriend right after he shot Charlie. Now, the reason they released it is because the story that they gave us, he shot Charlie, he took apart the gun, put it in his backpack, ran in the woods, covered it with the towel, put it back together, covered it with the towel, put it in a box, changed his clothes multiple times. We're like, it doesn't make any sense. And so I took this letter, and so did many others. We uploaded it to X and onto ChatGPT. And here's what I uploaded in yesterday. I asked, hey, Grok, does this text message conversation seem real or fabricated to you? And here's what Grok responded with. Based on the image, the text conversation includes overly detailed, meme-like elements, UWU, engraving bullets as a joke, absurd coincidences, misspellings, and narrative style that feels scripted for humor or satire. It doesn't align with the typical real confession, which are usually more concise and less self-incriminating, likely fabricated. ChatGPT says the same thing, and a lot of people have ran it through different artificial intelligences, and everyone gets the same question, gets the same answer. This seems fake. So if we truly want to drain the swamp, clean up our country, take back our country, we need Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi needs to be replaced. I'm done with her. Kash Patel needs to start fulfilling his campaign promises. Well, the things he promised leading up to becoming FBI director. And look, and I'll leave it at this. If the swamp is not drained, and let's all admit that if it wasn't for Charlie Kirk, President Donald Trump would not be president today. Nobody worked harder than Charlie Kirk. Nobody registered more voters than Charlie Kirk. Nobody went, and Charlie Kirk didn't just go across the country anywhere and everywhere. No. He focused on what matters, the 7 swing states and the counties in those swing states that matter the most. So if the swamp is not drained, Charlie's work was in vain. And I don't want that to be. And here's how awesome Charlie Kirk is still after his death, after his passing. As you all know, this coming Sunday, they rented the State Farm Cardinals Arena in Glendale, Arizona, where nearly 70,000 people are going to fill the entire stadium. Trump is going to be there to award Erica Kirk and the children on behalf of Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. J.D. Vance is going to be there. All these people. Turning Point USA is going to be there registering brand new voters. That's how amazing. That's the legacy he's leaving behind. Even at his funeral, they're registering voters. before I wrap this up, I do have some rejoicing news, ladies and gentlemen. As you all know, Jimmy Kimmel mocked Charlie Kirk's death. Breaking. ABC cancels Jimmy Kimmel's show indefinitely after Kimmel lied about Charlie Kirk's assassin being a MAGA conservative. That's what's, and look, that's not free speech. Standing there and lying like that and mocking, he even laughed at his death, made jokes. You're screwed, buddy. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Whoa. Thank you so much. God bless you. I love each and every single one of you. Yes, Scott Pressler did a lot too. Yes, Scott Pressler focused on Pennsylvania. Charlie Kirk focused on all 7 swing states, especially like Wisconsin, Nevada. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Tomorrow, I'm going to university to debate liberals, to preach the gospel. Pray for me. Stay tuned for the videos. I love you guys. See you soon. Pray for Erica Kirk.